You know, they say krill yourself, but I'm really not krilling it today. Yeah, I'm so funny. It's just, you know, it's just, I'm so funny. It's frightening, really. It's just, oh, God, save my soul. Anyway, yes, give me a minute. I need to set up the live sources for the video. Mm, give it a minute. YouTube's having a bit of a freak show. Bit of a bit of a real one. Bit of a momentary release. I am the one that's released. I'm releasing the beast myself out of the dungeon, for whomst I am entirely responsible. No, but that is entirely irrelevant. I'll have you know I am perfect. Let's just test something, okay? Fuck off. You leave me alone. I've become utterly schizophrenic and immediately terrified of everything. Oh, it is actually working. Mm. Oh well, ain't that something? Oh, that's so good. I love that. What the fuck am I supposed to say? I don't know. Hi, welcome. You know, it's a bit easier to get into stream when you don't really know what you're doing, I guess. Hi. Oh boy, those frames are dropping, eh? They ain't dropping no more. Though, that's Gaim. I got Gaim. Nothing is funny anymore. Anyway, hi, yes, the snake is back. The fucking wicked thing. I hope, I hope my evil, my misdeeds, my vile misdeeds are punished. My vile misdeeds being, I'm not actually entirely sure. Hmm. Well, I'm sure it's gonna matter at some point. Anyway, hi, yes. If you're wondering why I didn't stream last week, it's because I had a lot of stuff to do, and also because I seemingly do this bi-weekly at this point, considering I having shit pop up. This is God's way of telling me to stop doing this, but I'm not gonna because he can't make me. I will spite you, God. You cannot tell me what to do, Zeus. Except with the lightning, I guess. Could probably tell me what to do with the lightning. I do admit that's probably very likely what gets me. Anyway, yes. I guess I should turn the background on. Hi, welcome. Looks a lot more fitting here, doesn't it? Just realized I have that stupid white outline part around me. Well, I'm not gonna go about fixing it now. It's just a single pixel, anyways. What am I planning on doing today? Good question. No clue. I basically just did this because I have, frankly, nearly a clue about what I want to do. Why's Microsoft Teams added to? Ah, yeah, because my brother was. And that does make sense, yes. I get video game soundtracks to play in the background, like to use them as a background sound. Because let's be real, for as much of a banger as this is, uh, being that I've used it for 2 years continuously, it is a minute and a half. I can imagine it gets quite grating quite quickly. Hmm, but what could I do that would be appropriate for the stream and also entertaining? Hmm, I have an idea. Yes. Get ready for some typing ASMR. Yeah, that's how I type. Smash my head against the the keyboard until something returns. Oh yeah, I was looking at the Dagor Silmarillion First Stage campaigns. which is the campaign for first for the first stage of Middle Earth, which is quite cool. Not many middle first stage campaigns. Yeah, that's cool. Honestly, it's quite weird that there isn't more campaigns set in the first stage. What was it all about? I'm sure I know. Anyways, yes. Let's see. No, but I could do that. I could do that. Let's just figure out if I can stream. Hmm. Let's see. We're doing some high research right now. That's right. Oh, I've fallen back to my 2 frames a second. That's not good. Gotta get my 3 frames a second back up. Very choppy, don't it? 'I do something really silly now. Should I? Should I do this? Should I do this? I think I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do this. Don't do this. I'm gonna do this. Wait, fuck, I have uBlock Origin. Doesn't YouTube not like that anymore? Also, I like how it's opening up my own fucking stream as the first thing for me to watch. I think I should look at this shit. 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 Alright, hi, welcome to the club. Go away. Right? You seeing this? You seeing this bullshit now? You seeing that? Yeah. You seeing it? You seeing it? You fucking bastards. Why is my own stream getting recommended to me? I immediately. Also, I like how it's like a good synopsis of my my content. The Armored Core uh a history video about Serbia. I guess that's appropriate. Uh War Thunder, and then just well, that one is just because my brother plays in a small league, so it's not really directly relevant. But you know, it's very funny. Like, why can I stream myself, streaming myself? It's a good question. I guess we shan't find out. Like, you can see this, and it's gonna keep opening these tiny little windows in the window that do the window thing. It's very fucked up. You can see it's Windowsception. I wonder how much of a delay there is between me speaking and the videos going out. Oh, about 10 to 15 seconds, apparently, if this is telling you. Also, modeling an AR, which is cool and all, but I mean, I guess, yeah, I'm for A1. Kind of strange to have a telescoping stock, but you know, it's fine. Honestly, the AR-10 is kind of more static, isn't it? Because, like, look at the Armalite 10, the helicopter, famously. The fucking helicopter, that one. The one everybody knows. am I doing here? This thing, it kind of looks better in my opinion than the AR-15 because it's longer and it's got bigger proportions. You know, got those thingies in front of it. It's pretty cool. It's pretty cool. Same like the difference between is the AK 74M still the standard service rifle of the Russians? Why is there a Chinese? Japanese? That's Japanese woman here. But this, like this weapon. Why is this weapon nowhere near as aesthetic as the one, which is Serbia's made weapon? This is the M21. You can see the difference. One looks a lot more modern. Also, before anybody complains, yes, you can put the optics on the dust cover because, as you can see, the dust cover is actually pinned, so it's stable. It's a stable gunnery platform. Why am I talking about this? Does this even slightly matter? it, who am I? You know, that is a pretty good question. Does any of this matter? How did I go from Kirby's Air Ride to complaining about a fucking AR, and then to how our AKs are better than the Russian ones? They are though. They just are. Oh, how would I? Why is it warning me about transfers? It's not like it's my own country. Why am I being what? The fuck? Oh, I was. You know, what are you doing? Go away. Who designed this dumbass website? It's so ugly. I guess when they're too busy smuggling, they're too busy smuggling to cartels to do anything. But yeah, it's a 5.56 rifle. You can actually see it's got a little pin there, so it's not a conventional dust cover from an AK. It is a bit different. It's also got that gay ass stock we don't talk about, but you know, it's a stable gunnery platform. I like how it's very obvious that they just welded the Picatinny rail to a normal AK dust cover. Beast mode. Why go about improving things when you can just not? That's that's some real shit. That's some that's big brain plays right here, boy. That's some big brain plays right here, boys. That's right. No visuals for you. You're stinking. I hate you and hope you explode. Yeah, this one's gonna be this one's gonna be good. Hopefully, I don't get copyright struck. Listen, listen. Ooh, that's very loud. That's extraordinarily loud. Come to think of it. What are the options with this? Yes. This is a perfect soundtrack, honestly. It's very fitting. Anyway, yes, that's this fucking stream. This is it. This is what you're getting here. If you're expecting anything of quality, you have come to the wrong place, motherfucker. There is no quality here. It's only dog shit from henceforth. Well, that and War Thunder, but it's a bad thing. This is very loud. Come to think of it, like very, very, very loud. Oh fuck! I should commentate on the Iran affair with this music in the fucking background. Hell yeah! Hell yeah. Hell yeah. Kirby Dreamland Medieval Byzantine. I very much doubt you have medieval Byzantine anything here. Just looking at it. I'm just looking at the comments. Some very funny comments in the immediate past, future. I guess past. Yeah. We go. Oh no. Oh no. Oh no. That is correct. it's very it's very silly. It's the fuck is this? Oh yeah, that makes sense. That makes perfect sense. We're not gonna. I'm not staying on topic with this. I am going to get banned. Notice like towards any of the like to anyone, it's I am not racist nor an anti-Semite. It's just very funny considering current events. It's just very funny considering current events. You do have to admit it's very entertaining considering current events. What the fuck? It's asking me to sign in. Huh? Oh, yeah, sure. The fuck is this? This thing. Do that. Fucking Jesus Christ, man. Let me in. Let me into my own account. Let me into my own account. Let me in. Let me in. Let me in. I can use Grok. I can use Grok. Hell yeah, brother. Hell yeah, brother. Brother, hell yeah. brother. Brother. Anyway, yes, like the situation, we are monitoring the situation. The situation is being monitored. Am I okay? I'm not showcasing this immediately. Ah, yes, the situation. We are monitoring the situation. Abandoned him in the woods a couple. Was found and brought to SPA, and I adopted him. How old? I think he was traumatized. Get along with other. That's a guinea pig. Shit, fuck! I didn't know that's a guinea pig. This human sweet stink categories. I won't elaborate. What the fuck? Yeah, so we're getting a very high quality content from my Twitter feed. Okay, so Fayok News is kind of actually good. That's kind of actually good. Israel has informed it's critically low. Yeah, you can kind of see with the slow but steady rate of penetration of Iranian rockets for a long while now. No, what do you mean? Oh yeah, it wants me to. I no. Is it just gonna keep? It's just gonna keep recommending me to get a blue check mark. I'm not doing that. Anyway, so you can see a lot of stuff's going on, but you can see slowly there are elements of Iranian rocket barrages that are getting through the US screen, and they've become increasingly common as interceptors have become fewer and fewer, and the US needs to, well, the US and allies, I guess, needs to. Oh my fucking god! It's trying to get Kosovo and Metohija in my actual in Serbia part. That's great. As the allies start to become more conservative in what kind of targets they engage and how many interceptors they send up, you're steadily seeing an increase in overall successful penetrations by the Iranians. For a while, it was understood that the Iranians were significantly enough hampered in their ability to launch ballistic missiles, mostly via the successful engagement of TELs, so transporter reactor launchers, that the Iranians' ability to launch salvos of anything more than a few dozen rockets was considered impractical. However, it's becoming increasingly clear that the Iranians held back on a large number of ballistic missiles, except in the first week of the conflict, or really in the first 3 days after suffering quite high losses. No doubt the Iranian TEL arsenal has been significantly reduced. It would be incredibly difficult to argue against that, but it's clearly not had enough of an effect to stop the Iranians from being able to at least impart some kind of damage when engaging certain targets. And you can see this in the fact that overall, I'm pretty sure the actual number of Iranian missiles that are getting through is increasing. Well, same with drones, but drones are kind of different threat, mostly because using a PAC-3 interceptor to attempt to engage a low-flying Shahed is both incredibly wasteful and also, for a much more important note, difficult. These are, interceptors made to engage ballistic threats. Safe to say something flying at maybe 200 meters is probably not within. It's probably not that easy to hit. And you can see, like, slowly it's becoming increasingly clear that some Iranian missiles are going through, and you see Trump's statements like, sorry, OS, OSINT Defender, for basically just leeching off whatever you're doing. My bad, bro, but you are very good at your job, and I am a parasite. You can see Trump increasingly trying to pressure countries to join the offensive, and a big part of that is very visibly the fact that there have been increased rates of penetration. Him continuously trying to assure shipping that, oh, it's completely fine to go through the strait, except when the Iranians are targeting it. But we totally knocked out their military capabilities, guys. I promise you, we definitely did that. Now, please help us, Britain and France. We definitely don't need it because we already won. But it'd be useful. Obviously, the next stage of that is them trying to take Karg Island, which is not good. That would be uniquely terrible, I think, is the correct term. I think that's very much the correct statement here. Because frankly, the island is so close to the Iranian mainland, part of the reason why it's actually so common, why it's so useful. How do you spell that? That's how you spell it. Also, yeah, it's Silmarillion, Total War. I love the Silmarillioning of the totals with the wars in it. No, it's my favorite one. Very Silmarillionly. Beleriand looks fucked up, dog. What they do to the south? Seriously, what are they doing? Why is there a continuous body of water running from the Anduin into the Forest River, into the running, into some eastern river that goes into Rune, that goes into this place? Why is that? Is that a gameplay choice? Or here? Why can you circumnavigate the globe? Why are the fuck are there stringy bits here? What's going on? What's the world of Middle Earth supposed to look like in the Third Age? This is Valerian, obviously. The fuck is that? Interactive map menu. Huh, that's interesting. Even think about that. Anyways, yeah, the island with the island on it. The island. What the fuck? I am just really getting terribly, 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 excuse the below 2 frames per second update rate. You have to understand, it's very, very intense for me to do possible things like use Google Maps. Anyway, so the island, it do be an island, and you can tell it's very close to the mainland and to a pretty major urban area to the south here. Well, I say pretty major, it's got an urban area to the south of it here. What's this place called again? Including an airport. I don't know if it's military or not. Presumably it is, because yeah, you know what? I'm gonna take a wild guess and say that it's probably a military airport. But you can see this is which is whatever international hospital airport. This is within a few kilometers, to be clear. We're at a distance of 10 kilometers. It's maybe 30 kilometers at most between the island and the coast. That's fully within short range howitzer artillery, meaning that any attempt to take the island will near certainly require the formation of a tampon zone around the island, lest forces from places like Bushehr be able to continuously shell it and bombard it with drones at extreme short range. It would become very difficult to keep. Like, sure, it would be a very big hit to the Iranian oil industry, but also it would be very difficult for the Americans to sustain and hold the island for negotiations without incurring heavy casualties, in large part again because like any kind of medium range howitzers and even like extremely short range rockets could be used to engage the island, which means that the US garrison on the island would probably be either continuously under bombardment, which is bad for optics and maintain supply and maintenance, or the US would have to again create a tampon zone on the mainland around the island, with the intent being to ensure that the island cannot be hit by very short range systems. Well, not very short range, but by short range systems in general. That's really quite a difficult task for the US to actually do. Fuck off. Same with attempting to take Kusha. What's this island called? The big island where Hormuz is. This island, also attempting to take it, basically forces you to commit to a large scale troop deployment in the mainland. It would be very difficult for the Americans to successfully land troops on Karg and then not be dragged into land operations around the island to make a perimeter. And obviously, if US troops start getting deployed en masse within the actual Iranian mainland, you're very much in a different stage of the war. Things have very thoroughly escalated, and at that point, you are near certainly looking for a more serious confrontation than just taking an island. Because obviously, the island can be taken. It would actually be quite easy to take. It's very small and really militarily beyond some installations in the south here, which were already heavily targeted, doesn't really have a meaningful military presence. So the Iranians are not holding the island. It's just taking the island would really expose the US strategically to very short range systems. So not even short range systems, but like a very, very short range system. And again, with the US's inability to stop the Iranians from launching large numbers of ballistic missiles, even this late into the war, so 2 weeks into the war, it's becoming quite apparent that attempting to take the island would very likely drag the US into a larger involvement in Iran directly. was that there? It's a pretty big thing that would very quickly spark tensions. And you see cities like Bushehr and Bordosoyan. That's a very strange name. I know of Kaiserun though. Those cities are not minor cities. Sure, they're not insanely big, but even so, attempting to take them militarily would be difficult, or at least would require a large force of military men. Certainly more than what the US has in the region. Like currently, en route, there are only around, I think, 2,500 Marines actively en route to the Middle East, with an additional 5,000 available to deploy. 7,500 men might seem like a lot, but for attempting to make a, and certainly it would be more than enough to take the island, but for attempting to create a basically buffer zone between the island and the mainland, that's a very small number of men. Especially because, unless you're doing a thunder run straight towards Tehran, the Iranians are going to be able to muster forces, which is really bad for, everybody, but the Americans in particular. Like, as good as US fire superiority is, and by all accounts, the US has attained absolute fire superiority on both a tactical and strategic level, that doesn't mean that the Iranians are defenseless and that Iran wouldn't be able to do casualties or even push if they could gain and amass enough momentum against a relatively small force. They wouldn't be able to take the island back, but again, they could do significant damage and situate and put notable pressure on the US garrison of the island, which would again be costly. Also, taking the island basically, yes, it deprives the Ayatollah regime of something like 40% of all their of all their income, as oil is a very major part of that. Oil is absolutely a major part of that. It certainly deprives the regime of a very large amount of income, but also by depriving the regime, you are again pushing it closer to collapse. And the US has continuously exclaimed that it wants to see a large scale regime change in Iran. So when you're talking about a regime change, that's kind of one step below total war, effectively. Total war implies the complete destruction of a nation. What the US is doing is basically just one step below that, which is the systematic destruction, not necessarily of a nation, but of a government of a nation. And as many have rightly pointed out, it's going to be extraordinarily difficult for an air campaign alone to actually achieve that, because the regime can just keep playing hard to get effectively. Just keep bunkering down, taking casualties, accepting that it's taking casualties, and hoping that they can live to fight another day. And it would be very difficult for the US to change that calculus by using air power alone, which is becoming evident in the fact that increasingly now there is talk of US troop deployments on the ground to at least certain areas of Iran, if not necessarily the mainland. This is not unintentional. This is a clear indication that the White House, even now, is finally coming to terms with the fact that they probably would not be able to, via pure economic pressure and decapitation strike, force the Ayatollah government to some kind of, well, that's kind of the thing. Their terms and what they even want is unclear. On one hand, they're clearly wanting regime change, but on the other, it seems like they're trying to coerce. And some, well, a lot, I say some, most commentators have rightly pointed out that what we're seeing very strongly resembles the bungled equivalent of the operation in Venezuela, which is to say that they wanted a quick decapitation strike and then presumed that the incoming government would be friendly towards the US, or at least something that could easily be coerced into into a pro-US stance. It's increasingly becoming clear that the first day decapitation strikes have had the exact opposite effect and have put in power a hardliner, and by decentralizing command of the Iranian Revolutionary Guards Corps, which is the only part of the Iranian armed forces that have large scale strategic weaponry, so mainly the rocket force, they've effectively shot themselves in the foot. And so it seems like they're just trying desperately to basically wish a US, not necessarily US friendly, but US coercible government into existence in Iran in the hopes that they could then coerce it. But even the White House now is increasingly recognizing the oh god, the impracticality of seriously attempting to do that, and having recognized that is seemingly pulling the last thing it could think of before a full-scale invasion, which is again trying to cripple Iran economically. You can see something similar happening in Cuba, where they've mostly done exactly what they wanted, which is to say the Cuban economy has been completely ruined. The government has been forced to negotiate. The difference is that the Cuban government is broadly unpopular amongst the Cuban people. Not entirely, but broadly unpopular. And economically, Cuba is in a much worse place than Iran, mostly because it's a small island that is nowhere near self sufficient and can easily be strangled. Iran is a much larger country, and it would take a lot more time and effort to attempt to force the regime to collapse via internal pressure, especially because, well, by failing to act in the critical months of January when we saw those protests, the US is basically guaranteed, more or less, on it, more or less, they've guaranteed the fact that any actual internal opposition to the regime doesn't exist. Because let's not mince words here. Nobody, and I mean nobody, seriously thinks that Reza Pahlavi is going to be doing anything. Like it's beyond evident to all persons that that man is not popular among the Iranian people and will not care to be popular. And simply put, there is no world in which that guy takes the throne, not as president, not as emperor, not as interim anything. The Iranians might not like the Ayatollahs, that's true. Do not presume that in any way means that they would be fine with a Pahlavi back on the throne. That is entirely incorrect. It's here completely fantastical to even realistically suggest that the guy could have a chance at the throne. Even if installed by the US, his government would be broadly unpopular. And, well, if he isn't installed by the US, there is absolute zilch chance that we are seeing this. Like, I cannot emphasize it's not happening. If he's not installed by the US, he's not going to be leading anything. And unfortunately, well, there's not really anybody else. So it's kind of a shit position. That's also a big difference between Cuba and Iran. Iran is a mostly Muslim majority country and a quite fervently Shiite Muslim majority country. The result of that is very simply that the Iranian people are always going to be strongly in favor of a Islamic style government. Kind of one of the big lessons that the US more or less failed to accept from the entire Afghanistan fiasco is that no matter how much money you pour in, if the population fundamentally is ideologically opposed to the government you are running, you're not gonna have a popular government. Like that just isn't gonna work. One of the main reasons why the Taliban was so successful was in large part because the replacement government was catastrophically corrupt. But a big part of that really was just genuinely the fact that a lot of young Muslim men would rather take up arms against what they saw to be Western imperialism and an explicit attack on their identity rather than accept the status quo of there being a democratic, partially Western government. I think that's really telling that, if anything, the situation in Iran is probably even more intense than in Afghanistan because the Taliban in the prelude to the invasion of 2001, they were only in power for like a decade at that point, and they really weren't in power that much. There were still parts of the country refusing their control. The Ayatollah regime has been there since the revolution. Like that is a very long time. That's what 20 plus 20, at least 45 years effectively. No, wait, less than 45. At least 40 years in power. That's a long time, and that's a large amount of time to genuinely build fervent followers that would be willing to die. I mean, look at Saddam's regime. Yeah, Saddam Hussein. He had Fedayeen that were willing to fight to the death, even when it became very apparent that he was gonna lose in the face of a full-on invasion. And many of those elements then later went and joined the Islamic State, or many of the offshoots. Primarily Al Qaeda, because IS only really forms a splinter group in the mid to late 2000s. But you know, there are loyal men willing to die for the Ayatollah regime, and anybody who says otherwise is simply misreading the situation. But there aren't really people willing to die for democracy in Iran. Or rather, there really aren't people willing to die for democracy in Iran now. They kind of got shot like 2 months ago. I laughed, but it's really depressing. There really isn't internal support for democracy, and there's a lot of support for the Islamic regime. And that basic reality is not gonna get changed no matter how much the US bombs Iran, or how much oil revenue is cut off from the government, or how bad the economic situation gets. Like, even if there was to be a governmental overthrow, which there hopefully isn't for the sake of everybody, but even if there was, you would immediately have a counterinsurgency, and a pretty violent one. Additionally, obviously, by attempting to use the Kurds as what you call it, basically as mercenaries, as a foreign army to invade western Iran from eastern Iraq, they've again turned the majority Iranian population strongly in favor of the Ayatollah regime, because now you have groups like the. Why did it do that? No, thank you, Afghanistan. We're not talking about you yet. In the West, you have the Azeris in well, southern Azerbaijan. Then you have the Kurds in the Zagros. Then you have the Luris in the southern Zagros, like I guess Elam technically. A small Arab population in well, the basically bit of Iran that's Mesopotamia, and then obviously Balochs in, well, the western regions of Balochistan, and some other groups like Pashtuns, although in significantly smaller quantities in the east. And while those are very significant minorities, they're not the majority of the population. And what's going to happen is very easily even now, you're going to see basically every nationalist Iranian who doesn't want an independent Kurdistan or Luristan, although let's be real, there is no Luri rebel movement. There is just who don't want to see their state carved up for a Kurdish state to exist or for an Azeri state to be enlarged. They're going to support the Ayatollahs out of a lesser of two evils kind of strategy. And there's really no getting around that. That is more or less just an objective fact. Basically, what I'm trying to say by this is that there's basically zilch ways that this could go well for the US, and a myriad of ways it can go very, very poorly. That's basically what I'm trying to get across. And I think it's very obvious from how the White House is handling the overall affair that they are firstly in denial of the reality on the ground. Keep in mind, when you have a government like the Trump administration, every accusation is an admission, or effectively, basically, when you have him continuously reiterating for days on end that all Iranian military capabilities have been demolished, like it's more than evident that yes, he's obviously trying to get other people to genuinely believe that the Iranian military is no longer a fighting force, is with these stupid bots. What are they even interactions? Let me block user. Just block user. This block user? Yes. Okay, block him. I can hate these bots. But anyway, they're also clearly in denial themselves. And the dangerous reality is that that denial may well extend not only to the military situation, but much more deeply to catastrophically misinterpreting the situation on the ground, which is very common and has been very common and has been a continuous problem for the US, completely failing to firstly accept the stance of the local population in both Iraq and Afghanistan that they are mostly Islamic and they mostly don't like the concept of Western democracy. And B, refusing to accept that you cannot change their minds by simply bribing them, or at least not the majority of them. Or, well, actually, not the majority, not all of them. The radical militant elements are going to remain. And as long as they're around, more or less you're fucked. You're more or less stuck fighting basically an infinite counterinsurgency. You could obviously, over decades, attempt to change public opinion, but that's very difficult, expensive, and requires continuous force and continuous willingness to expend force, which the US has proven unwilling to do on a large number of occasions. Even after seemingly 20 years, they just don't care. And that's very easily what the US can end up with: an administration that not only refuses to accept military realities, but driven by desperation and a want for a way out, refuses to accept the very basic population and political realities of Iran and ends up catastrophically underestimating the opponent they're facing. Not necessarily in the conventional military forces of the Ayatollahs, or even really the Ayatollah regime, but in the fact that something will come to replace it, even if that regime is toppled, and that something is not going to be friendly towards the US or Israel. That simply isn't going to happen. No amount of effort will make that be a thing. That was bleak. That was very bleak. All right, let's do something funny to to make things not terrible. Who knows? Maybe it's gonna work one day. Hope. can I even do? There are a lot of YouTube Studio is a very strange thing, isn't it? Hammer. I can select a hammer. Oh, I can smash myself in the head with a hammer. Hell yeah, that's great. I love that. I can smash something with a hammer if I had arms to use. Ow, ow, stop it. What am I doing with myself? Ah, yeah, that's me. Get no the thing the thingy majiggy and item settings clear all items. There you go. Fuck me. That was they beat me with a fucking hammer. Oh my god. Anyway, I think that's gonna be enough of me showcasing my VTuber model. Hell yeah. Oh, there I go. There I go, disappearing yet again. Oh my god, I'm such a doodoo dig ghost. What? Anyway, yes, we're going to be playing exclusively one round of War Thunder. Very fucked up. Very, very fucked. Very fucked. What the fuck is going on here? Oh, just Twitter freaking out. Currently looking at my phone because that's the the sign of a good stream when I'm too busy looking at my phone to entertain the public. Don't worry though, it's just telling me that somebody logged into my account. I'm sure that's a good thing. Line of contact. Yeah, they calling me the line of contact the way I don't get any. Eh. Oh god, I played this bad game for over 1,500 hours. Ugh, oh my. Oh, I'm actually thinking. You think Flyout's ever gonna actually release that update they've been pretending to be working on for the past 2 years? Because some interesting info came out like on the 20th of February. You know what? Why am I doing this? I can show you that. I can show you this. I have Discord somewhere. I can just show you what's going on with Flyout. Presuming that I have fucked up completely. Why is Fly? What's going on here? Help! Help! There's a billion things at once. There's a billion things happening at once. I'm not built for this. Where is the yes. I'm not built for this. Slop maxing here, buddy. We maxing our slop here. We sloppening it, if you will. Shut up. How many? I just opened my brother's Discord and I'm just realizing the sheer number of fucking. Damn it, this idiotic application. He just. I don't have a fucking account here. I am. Yep. Okay, never mind. The dingus fucking got rid of. I'm gonna scream. All right. Yep. Fine. That's good. That's normal. I'm not. I'm not angry at all. I'm very happy. I'm very happy with the state of things. Very entertained. It's good. And go away. Why is Discord still open? And nobody likes you. Waste of a fucking platform. I wanted to show you the things, but then I need to log in because. Yeah, that's how it works. I wanted to show you what the dev's been working on for 2 years. It's kind of unimpressive when you put it that way, but there is something there. Maybe. Hopefully. One day. One day we may be able to get the impossible. a single update for Flyout that's not actually going to fix anything. That's something I've been thinking about. I've been thinking about making a video in which I complain loudly that the half the game is taking is not going to lead to a long-term good result, regardless of how many updates they push. Presuming they push more updates. That's a big presumption. They said it's well, firstly they said it was going to be released in February, somewhere back in December. Then that deadline started to get near, and suddenly, no talk of February anymore. It's Q1 2025, and we are now very well into the first quarter of 2025, and there is still nothing. Well, there's still no release date, I guess. Needless to say, when it's Q1 2025, and it's already the 14th, effectively going to be the 15th in a couple of hours of March, so the third month, I'd say you blew past a quarter relatively quickly. So let's see if they pull a stealth delay again. Certainly wouldn't be the first time the dev's done something like this. It's interesting how hostile the community is getting on both sides, where one part, feeling disillusioned, increasingly wants to burn the entire thing down and claims that they've been scammed of an update. And on the other hand, the other party, trying to get why is theme? Okay, so for some reason it's not. There you go. Why is it not? Very strange. And then on the other hand, you have a group that's becoming ever more sycophantic in their unconditional support for Ghost is the name of the dev, I'm pretty sure. Saying like, no, he's the best guy ever. He's doing so much work. You're just, you're evil, and you're implying that he scammed people, but he didn't because he's still technically developing the game, even though it's been 2 years since an update. But he's definitely helping. Well, year and a half. Yeah, year and a half. Over a year and a half at this point. Year and what, 9 months? So, definitely, which both sides are obviously oversimplifying. For something to be fraud, it needs to be malicious. I don't think the developer, the the game, or I think it's actually two people, is scamming people mostly on the basis of the fact that I don't think he's competent enough to scam anybody, or rather, I don't think he had the intent to scam anyone. And knowing that, it's a bit difficult to justify calling it a scam. Like, sure, he fucked up clearly, but again, it's a bit ridiculous to call it a scam, isn't it? He's clearly way in over his head and cannot deliver what he promised, not in a timely fashion anyway, but taking that to mean that he's doing scams is a bit stupid. Then on the other hand, you have the other members of the community who have become so sycophantic in his defense that even the slightest amount of anything that can account criticism is treated as some kind of act of Jesus Christ. Is treated as some kind of act of evil against the developer and an attack on not just the game but the community as a whole. Needless to say, neither of these is a particularly healthy stance to have. But hey, the stance they have anyway, and I doubt either part of the community is going to become any less stupid as time progresses. So I was kind of thinking of doing a breakdown of both the current state of the game, although I'm very much holding off on doing that, mostly because I just want to give, firstly, a chance for... Fuck? No, 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 no. Hey. suppose, are these in point mode? They might be in point. I just want to give the dev a chance to showcase what the update actually brings, because well, it brings an entire new weapons editor, it brings radar, brings other sensors, it brings radar warning receivers. It's not like there's nothing being done here, it's just kind of... It's not a bad thing. It's clearly a lot of work that went into it, but the problem is, again, as I've explained multiple times, with Flyout, there isn't a game in there, or rather, to explain this without sounding like an... It's actually probably going to be quite difficult. Fuck you mean hit? Anyway, yeah, more or less, it's impractical to realistically consider where that goes. It's a game. It's a sandbox that happens to have a little bit of a game in it. There isn't a game. There isn't a primary gameplay loop, rather, that does anything. You can build things, certainly. That's absolutely the case. But what do you do with those builds? And every time I play Flyout, I inevitably go back to this conversation, but this conversation I think is valuable to have. Because it clearly implies that there is objectively a big problem. Like, undeniably, I think there is a big problem with the game. People just aren't realistically considering it. Or rather, not necessarily realistically considering it. The dev is, I would argue, not understanding what makes the game a game. Because obviously you can get into the discussion of external versus internal motivations or motivators to play a game. That is a valuable, worthwhile discussion to have. But what that discussion hinges on is that player expression alone is enough to unconditionally enable basically people to keep playing the game. It's kind of the... Minecraft is the favorite golden child of that argument. You know, if something happens, if there is an argument on that matter, rather, it's always without fail on lock this bad boy up and off this thing goes. Hopefully I'm not gonna get diddled. It's always that argument, without fail. Oh my, that was close. It's always the argument that player expression means that it's good, or like it's unconditionally good. That the game can just not have fundamental features. The difference is, Minecraft is a fully fledged game that happens to have... what would you even call that? Like, it happens to have a lot of player expression. Sure, Flyout has player expression, but a fundamental part of the expression of building a plane, especially a combat aircraft, is the combat. Like, it's fundamentally different. For you to build a nice looking house in Minecraft, it's enough to have a nice looking house. It's not the same when you're attempting to use Flyout as an example, because sure, with a commercial airliner it's kind of close, but it's not really close enough to reasonably justify target, in my humble, however correct opinion. If you're building, for instance, not even necessarily a military aircraft, just an airliner, like a civilian airliner, it still doesn't work. Because the civilian airliner has a purpose. It goes from point A to point B. But you can't do that in Flyout because there are no passengers to transport and no schedule and deadline to have, or to stick to, or to fail to meet. And that's quite a problem fundamentally, regardless of whether the dev recognizes it or not. A key part of that fantasy is the ability, more or less, to actually use those aircraft. And there just isn't that fantasy with Flyout because planes have a purpose. You could build a cool looking structure in Minecraft and be content because that cool looking structures are interesting on their own. And if you really need justification, Minecraft has things like furniture and stuff. Flyout doesn't. Well, fundamentally, it obviously has furniture, but it doesn't have usable furniture in the sense that fulfills the fantasy of building or operating a plane. We're currently cosplaying the space shuttle coming in for landing, except I really fucked the landing part up. If you're landing tangentially in the fucking space shuttle, you done something, you done goofed, brother. You done goofed. By all accounts. Maybe we can use the Mikas as a kind of booster rocket. Why has nobody thought of that? 10 questions science cannot explain. I'm finding on way more side than I expected. Top 10 questions the liberals cannot answer. That's a key part of the fantasy. So for Minecraft, it can get away with having basically nothing but blocks to build. Because a key part of the fantasy of Minecraft is that you can build anything with blocks. It's Lego. A key part of the fantasy of Flyout, however, is that you're building a plane, and planes do things. I know, thank you for my insightful commentary. You can thank me for my insightful commentary now. But those elements simply are not there, you know. There is plenty of internal expression and internal motivation going on in Flyout. It's just a key part of that fantasy also has to rely on external stimuli. It would be the same as Minecraft having one block with the stone texture, like a really pre-release, I think even pre-alpha imp dev kind of thing. The very earliest prototype. That's effectively where Flyout is in a gameplay scenario while this thing accelerates. Not quite. Obviously, Flyout has a lot more stuff than 2009 Minecraft, but it's kind of in the same boat of overall feature depth. Same as creative expression would be strongly undermined by having one block, so does having effectively nothing except a single target drone and a SAM that is entirely unreactive to the player significantly hamper the fantasy of building any kind of plane. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk. My recommendation is to his Ghost on the cheek and tell him to do something. You know, I guess I really should collect my thoughts instead of taking a 15 minutes rambling fucking schizophrenic dialogue to get to my point, but where's the fun in that? Where's the fun in that, eh? Nowhere. Much like you have no fun. funniest guy alive. They hate me because they hate me. Let's see if I can find the ADAT before it finds my booty hole. The resolution of this thing is not very good, so I'm not entirely confident I will. Confident? Confident. I will. Actually, the resolution is pretty okay. Ah, I think I see it now. Ah, well, that's unfortunate. Go, my missile. Take his soul. Ow. Take revenge, my chud son. Kill him immediately. Wow, that thing's also carried up into me. That's a good part. Yeah, that makes sense. I think the pilot would be dead by now. It really would, wouldn't you? Alright, one actual game of War Thunder is all you're getting before I go to sleep. I'm tired. What did you expect me to say? Mirage 5F? Oh my god, it's the Mirage 5F is my favorite plane. I love the Mirage 5F. The Panzer 2C is my favorite plane. Oh, I love the Panzer 2C. Yeah, Schmidtler, how much armor should we give this thing? 9. What do you mean 9? No armor. It will have 9 armor. I mean, you think you have it bad. Imagine being the guy told to go in the thing that has 14 millimeters of armor and is supposed to be a medium tank. The hell is this thing? Ugly for one. What the fuck? $50 mils of armor, that's actually surprisingly good for a tank at 2.0. Granted, it's all flat, but Jesus, my tech tree really does look quite funky, doesn't it? They had the MiG-29's actual weapon now. That's probably the best MiG-29 in game. First generation anyway, not that you should play any of the other ones. No, they only have R60s for some reason. I'm sure it makes sense if you're Gaijin and stupid. Ah yes, the Ki-83. Also because, I don't know, Plane 83 I guess? I don't know what Ki actually stands for. I mean, what this thing was, it was supposed to be an interceptor. Didn't quite work out. like most late war Japanese aircraft. If the Americans probably had something to do with it. Oh, great. I told the US and Sweden. I'd say I expected that. Oh, it's a full up deer. Oh, it's a full up deer. Ooh. 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 But it's actually not full up deer. What do you mean the Yak 15 is only barely higher BR than the hell? I am literally crying and shaking right now. This is so fucked up. Alright, let's see if I can pick off a bomber before getting clapped by a jet. Can I outturn an SK-60? Questions of our age? I think the answer to that is probably a very decisive no. I guess it depends on the energy state, but he would have to play it quite badly. Again, he may play quite badly, who knows? These are SK-60 players and they aren't known for being great. And yeah, the one thing about this aircraft, oh boy, its engines love to overheat. Like, constantly. Like, even at 100%, you are going to be overheating. It's really bad. It's not good. Like, my brother in Christ, how am I supposed to intercept bombers when my engine is going to explode? SMH, shaking my head. Hopefully I don't run into a P-51. That'd be quite bad. Especially because all of my team has decided to go to the deck. What are you doing? You are literally made for high altitude combat, KI-84. Why are you going down? What's that about? Why are you doing that? Is it to annoy me in particular? Random player, probably not even from the same part of the continent that I'm from? Is that the reason? It can only be presumed. Oh, well, as I said, SK-60 players. Managed to sneak under the radar. Yet. It's safe to say he's not going to do much now. He's fighting against the two best turning jets at that BR. And the Su-9, which is also pretty good. Meanwhile, I'm just enjoying, yep, that's a P-1. That's a few P-51s. Oh, that's the entire enemy team I'm head first into. Alright, yep, that's very cool. Thank you, Mr. President. I love flying and not dying. Those are my two favorite activities in life. Some might even say my favorite things ever. Just gonna not do that now, sorry. He come into my booty hole. Oh no. Oh fuck, he's using self belts. Dickhead. Oh, well, there I go. Really can't even outrun from him at this point with the amount of damage I've sustained. Thankfully, my team is nowhere to be found. God, they got me turning worse than a fucking heavy bomber at this. The fuck? Maybe my useless teammates are going to help me, you know, who knows? Maybe they are, maybe they aren't. Probably aren't. There goes my elevator. Maybe I can pull. Yep, no, that's not it. Wow. I sure expected this to be a victory on my team's part when the highest scoring player is a dipshit ME262 player. Wow. That's gonna end well. The only chance whatsoever is that this Yak 15 pulls a Hail Mary, because oh my god. May God strike down all premium players as the scum they are. Oh, 13,000 for repair. That's definitely normal. Yep. Very normal, honestly. Very, very normal. Pretty sure the Rafale sled. With full modification, then the F-106. That makes plenty of sense. Most sensible thing you ever heard. The F-106 is still pretty. Very cool looking. Those short-range missiles that the Brits carry, they might be. Unlike that. I think it may well be. Seems to be a mild up tier too, so that's good. Really tells you how terribly compressed these BRs are, that you have multiple aircraft with 30G missiles with the AV-8C, like with really good missiles and countermeasures, and just like a normal gun saber, just like a saber with a few cannons. And keep in mind that Gaijin considers that a perfectly reasonable matchup, you know. The balancing of this game is something to behold, and not in a good way. I found that your best bet in the F-106 is to come off low and to the left. Rather, just to where the enemy team isn't going to be, which is left most of the time. And just bank your altitude and hope that the enemy doesn't see you. Basically the same thing that that guy is doing, except he has functioning missiles and an objectively better flight model. But I think the same BR as me. Yes. Gaijin. Cannons. Yeah, because you can run into Yeats and other stuff like that, and you're just frankly not gonna win against most of them. And Hawker Hunters too, that's not really good. And, okay, well, the Mystère 4A probably isn't a particularly big threat, I will admit. I'm not terrified of him, that. That's the Harrier. Yeah, this thing has the... What are you doing, Mr. Harrier? Or Jacobson? Are you carrying bombs? The DF-86 is carrying. Good on you, I guess. So those are a couple annoying people, eh? far away are you? Quite far away, if I can unlock. Yeah, quite a few dingladongs. Dingladongers, even. Too well. I do like the sheer brazenness of the Mystère 4, though. Guy's got the dog in him, what can you say? Beyond the fact that he probably shouldn't have the dog in him. Not a good idea for him. Oh, he actually got hit by that. Well, that's, I feel sorry. That's like hitting a disabled child. Maybe he's not gonna see this one coming? He's definitely gonna see that one coming, though. Let's still force him to maneuver, so it's not nothing. Yeah, save, not gonna be doing that. See if he's going to try to reverse his turn, or he's gonna keep it into a straight fight. Huh. See something new every day. Well, I'm just gonna disengage. Turns out, trying to win a dogfight against probably the single best dogfighter at your tier, probably not a good idea when you're in a very heavy Delta Wing, and I mean very, very heavy Delta Wing. That Ayit's still not dead either. Quite concerning. Oh, but the Harrier did get a kill. Oh my god, that's great. The Alpha Jet's also apparently doing twerk. Not see him. His tailpipe is very clearly showing. I guess he can't. And that was the biggest shit shot I've had in a long time. Let's see if the J-35 is going to help his teammates or go for the Alpha Jet. Who would have seen that one? He is trying to get the Alpha Jet. Wow. Players like these who needs opponents. Or rather with allies, like save the CL-13 win the entire game or not. Probably not. I'm gonna have to get that Ayit somehow at some point, probably. My best bet is very much just keeping up high and trying to get him before he can get me. Maybe with a missile, although I don't know if that thing is a radar warning receiver or not. Certainly if he does, it's not going to be a pretty picture. You think they're gonna get him eventually, or are they just not do anything? The real question for the ages, real, what is it? A ponderance to the knowing, or whatever that one Schizo wrote? I don't know. Ah, I think he is dead. Something tells me very slightly that he might just... Right, let's activate that, and let's find him. He is back at his airfield. Alright. Okay, yeah, no, that's okay. He can do that, he's allowed to do that. Can't wait till he takes off and does nothing. Gonna sit there and harass him, really. Yeah, he's just being a dingus. Now somebody apparently crashed on takeoff on their team. I can hover over him and then try to lock him up. That'd be pretty. How long is his repair time? Or he can just not J out as well. That's an option, I guess. I have to admit, I thought he was just gonna J out after being repaired, but color me. I'm in lower 4, but they shouldn't be able to easily engage me from here. Yeah, he's apparently taking off. I mean, good on him for playing the game, I guess. Players that wouldn't have done that. Maybe if I searched to set it to IR scan, I could pick him up easily. It's not necessarily easily, just pick him up. Just keep continuous lock on him without arousing his suspicions. Arousing his suspicions would probably be the actual English way of saying up. It's not picking up him taking off, which is very strange, but to overcommit myself. If missiles start getting fired at me, people are gonna start seeing that I am around. He is off the runway, clearly. I'm gonna go. Probably try to bomb a base if I can presume. I've actually already spiked his radar warning receiver. Think about that. Yeah, that's my own exhaust sound, so. Not very useful at all, I tell you what. He's going. I did get a signature on the east. I'm getting some kind of faint target acquired. I don't want to burn too much of my fuel, but getting to him quick would be important. Early. The IRSC is having a very difficult time locking him up. I think he might have seen me. These could reasonably have seen me. My red line. Oh, he's gonna be able to drop his missiles before I can actually engage him. It's fortunate. And there are people engaging him. Fortunate. Ah, well, never. He definitely sees me now. Alright. Yep. Okay. That was, severe skill issue on my part. Oh, I got a line of contact crate. One more to the collection, I guess. And a lot of stuff, apparently. Roundel of the Royal Canadian Air Force. Okay, yeah, sure, why not? Oh, we won in Zhengzhou. Wow, that was unexpected. Good on the guy who won. Anyways, yeah, I don't know what the stream was either, honestly. It's quite a conundrum to everyone. Me, first of all. Or rather, most of all. Hey guy, teach me Dagger Silmarillion here.